and welcome to this special presentation of the Overwatch League Week 5 preview. I am your caster, Hodohori, and we are back again to preview Week 5 of the Overwatch League. And as always, I'm with my friends, casting characters of Team Blackwatch. Tactical Buffalo, how are you doing today?
Good. Hodo, I just wanted to point out that you have week 4 in the title of the stream.
I do have Week 4. Did I forget? Did I put Week 4 in the
Yes.
stream?
Week 5 to me.
It looks like Week 5 to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did I not?
Refresh.
That's my
You
bad.
lied.
I'm a filthy liar.
Starting out strong.
Hey,
Yeah,
it's late
I
at
was
night,
say.
so like
I
I'm
was say,
expecting
cut me some
everybody.
slack. It's like
It's only
12:30.
9:22. You
It is
Easterners.
12:22 a.m. on the East Coast, and two of my guys here are East Coast fans. So also
Coast for
Blue
life.
on the West Coast. How are you doing?
I'm awake and not going to be going to sleep anytime soon.
All right. And Archimus, how are you? East Coast bound, also. I see.
I'm good. East Coast.
Yeah,
You
East
can tell by
Coast,
the teams.
East Coast, best coast. That's what I'm talking about. Right.
Hell yeah.
Goodness.
Best Coast.
So let's get started with some headlines here. We're gonna start off the show here with letting people know that Boston Uprising are indeed for real. They came off a great win today, stomping the Los Angeles Valiant into the ground, 4-0 in the Overwatch League. It wasn't close. Granted, the Valiant were not playing with Unco or Silk Thread, but I don't know if it would have mattered or not. They looked really, really good, and coming off of their previous week, I think just Boston are really, really on the rise right now. Seoul Dynasty survived week 4 barely, losing to London 4-0 in just a game that they were just awful. They were terrible. But they come off a win off the Houston Outlaws, but really just by the hair of their chinny chin chin. 3-2. That game could have gone either way. Houston, though, just sort of threw it away at the end, and Seoul just sort of won it out there and just didn't let Houston sort of take that sort of control point at the end. But they do survive. And now, week 5 is sort of clearing up here a little bit now, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about. What did you see in week 4 that maybe that I didn't consider a top story, but maybe you thought that maybe was sort of neglected? Let's start with Tack. You've been watching the league all week. There's something out there in week 4 that maybe that I didn't mention here in the top stories.
I would say probably Shanghai actually did not look as bad against Excel as everyone thought they would. I mean, I know they went 4-0, but they actually made them work for it. I would say Undead popped off on Oasis and actually like got a couple kills on Pine.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah, I
fun.
was gonna say it was really fun to watch, and so I think Shanghai is slowly starting to figure out who they are as a team.
Until they got map swept by London.
Yeah, that London match was sort of rough. Do you know that they had to kill 30 minutes between that match and the Dallas Fuel Excelsior match? London finished that map in 37 minutes. All 4 games.
Record
Oh.
time.
It was
Oh.
ridiculous. Like they full held them on the first point, full held them on what was it, Anubis? And then
No,
literally-
Horizon.
It was
Horizon, and then blitzed them on King of the Hill, and then full held them again at the very end. It was insane. But I felt bad because London, I think, were angry over last week's result, and they were coming off of a high of just destroying Seoul. So, but you're right. Shanghai did look good. How about you, Blue? What did you see in week 4 that you would consider a top story?
So, you guys know that I'm a Fuel fan, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Your logo is the fuel here in the channel.
It's painful to watch. Point out one thing that has actually had a huge effect on this stage playoff outlook, and it was as you guys are aware by the stats that I always bring to the table, Dallas has been absolutely abysmal on control point. And the New York Excelsior, sorry again, Tack, have been they have Pine. Pine is the king of the hill expert. He is the king of the hill.
Oh.
Today, Dallas decided we don't feel like letting them win this one, and it was their worst map against Excel's best map. that actually prevented XL from being the top seed right now and leaving it to the London Spitfire by 1 map. And
I
they
would
are
like to point
currently
out
the top team
that
currently.
we've actually been pretty weak on Oasis for a while now, and the fact that I think it would have been much different if it was something like Ilios, because that is Pun's strongest map. But I will give to you the fact that they did beat us on a Koth map, which has historically been our best.
And ruined Pine's record.
Yeah.
And
They
ruined
did
Pine's
ruin
record.
Pine record, which is
He came
not,
in thinking,
not cool,
hey, I'm
man.
undefeated.
Not cool.
We're undefeated. We're bringing in our undefeated player, and then we're going to lose.
Not cool.
Yeah,
Not
and that's
cool.
the thing. It's like they were monsters with Pine anywhere in the game, and of all the teams, it was Dallas that sort of ruined their streak. And it's, I think, just goes back to the fact that Dallas just knows how to play the Korean teams the way that gives them a bit of agita. It's sort of weird because it's like you saw them take Seoul to the brink in week 1. You've seen them now give NYXL as much as they can handle pretty much. Because towards the end there, they were actually sort of playing them really, really tough. And
It was the same case with the Spitfire as well back in, I think it was week 2.
yeah, yeah. And then it just gives them just sort of like a bit of a run for their money. And then these Korean teams don't take the fuel, they don't take them lightly. But the fuel also play up to this sort of level of competition that some of the teams in this league just sort of can't match, which is really, really funny to watch. I think after this Mercy meta is over and in the beginning of stage 2, I think you see a different Dallas fuel.
Yeah, we'll also see a different dynasty that'll going to be running rampant all over again when there's not Mercies going around.
That's exactly right, and that's going to be a very different animal for everybody else in the rest of this league. So, Archimus, how about you? What did you see in week 4 that maybe you consider the top story?
I don't know. We've already gotten most of the good stories. I don't know if there's anything left to talk about, anything big.
I mean, other than Boston stomping the Valiant.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, but we
Well,
talked about that.
what about your team, the Philadelphia Fusion? Now they lose terribly to the Valiant, yet turn
Yeah.
around and then destroy this Dallas Fuel team that, granted, is underperforming, but
It's
just
Dallas.
it's Dallas. But I mean, it's like Philly is just one of those teams that at any day they can beat anybody on the field. They just have to sort of feel it, and it's sort of weird. And I think they're the only team in this league where that happens, because it's like they come around and beat XL the week before. They turn around, then they just look horrible against the Valiant, and then the very next day they crushed the Fuel and just didn't give them a chance. Because you watched that match. That match, Dallas wasn't even in it, at least not in any part in any way. And it's just like, Philadelphia just, I think if they can just sort of solidify and be a little bit more predictable, I think they've got a shot in stage 2 and doing really, really well. I just don't know how the Mercy changes are going to affect them, because I think Philadelphia's Mercy is actually pretty good compared to some of the other teams. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I mean,
well, so it's like, it's going to be one of those things, I think. So it's like, so what are we going to do? So let's head into the statistics, shall we? So let's start with the sort of overall sort of map by map type statistic here between the teams. And Blue, break it down for me. Explain this chart so that I understand between the hybrid, assault, control, and escort here. What are we looking at?
So currently, right now, what we see is that still the number one team in the league has been the Valiant. They have shown time and time again that they know how to attack points, they know how to get to locations, but closely following behind them is the Uprising. Now, with that stated, the worst defensive team we all know is Dallas. Dallas has given up 83 map points, but right after them is actually the Valiant. The Valiant, who have proven themselves to actually be fantastic in a lot of different situations, have dwindled miserably defensively over the past 2 weeks. And it's kind of sad to watch, because they were such a They were the Boston Uprising of the first 2-3 weeks. Now the Boston Uprising obviously are rising up, whatever.
Here they come.
But secondly, what we also see here is that the Spitfire are only one map ahead of the Excelsior, and since they have matching records, the Spitfire are actually leading the entire league in regards to the map differential as well as the standings and seeds. Followed very closely by the Dynasty only by standings, and then the Outlaws who actually have an advantage over round differential. Have a worse record than the Dynasty. If it weren't for an extra loss, the Outlaws would actually be the 3rd seed in the league right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, Houston really needed that win against Seoul this week, and they just couldn't do it. And it's like, for all those Houston fans out there that give me crap on my power rankings, this is why. Because Seoul was ripe for the taking in that match, and they just needed to close it out, and they just didn't do it. And like, all the statistics in the world beating bad teams gonna be great for the Houston Outlaws. They were going like 4-0 against Shanghai and Dallas. It's like, you gotta beat the big teams, Houston. You gotta beat the big teams. Don't, it's not gonna get you anywhere. And like, in a way, it almost makes it like the statistics lie a little bit. I mean, like, the differential is where you're going to be like sort of really, really telling, in the sense that, like, let's go to the stats differential page and overall standings. Like, the London Spitfires sort of like differential here is the best, I think, at 18, along with the Excelsior, and both teams are 7-1. And you're looking at the Seoul Dynasty in third at 6-2, and then there's this sort of log jam at 5-3. But like, the thing about it is London, like, the way they beat Shanghai today, uh, they really only took, what is it, 4 points total, but it was like a 4-0 because they didn't allow Shanghai to get even 1 point. So like, there is no increase in differential, so they didn't necessarily like sort of take an entire point, like take an entire map, getting 3 points on a map, and then full holding Shanghai, which would have then inflated their sort of differential a little bit, on a sort of on a map type by map type basis. But this is
Yeah.
where we get into the interesting part, because we'll look at the schedule real fast, because what's going on is that week 5 is a very interesting week, because you're looking at uh
Another Dallas win.
another Dallas win. Yes. But you're also looking at a special week when it comes to the Overwatch League. So the way that this league is structured is that at the end of every week, at the end of every stage, excuse me, there is a little mini tournament. And the mini tournament takes place between the top 3 teams in that particular stage. So imagine pretty much like everybody's records sort of zero out, and each stage can be taken sort of individually. And the top 3 teams at the end of stage 1 by record will then play in a little mini tournament for $100,000. So the winner of the stage immediately gets placed into the finals, whereas the third place teams have to play to get into the final. So, like, if you win the stage, it's like a bonus 25 grand, because that's the minimum you're guaranteed. But like, you have a chance to play for 100 grand, which in esports money is normally what like a major or a premier sort of tournament pays out, which is really, really good. And they do it 4 times, which is actually sort of crazy. So there's like $400,000 up for grabs for winners of stage tournaments at the end. So it's pretty nuts. So, but the uh the 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 deal this week is, normally we go on a week by week basis, on a day by day basis, excuse me, to examine the teams. What we're doing, since it's late at night and people are a little punchy, we're going to go on a who's going to make it into third place, is basically how we're going to go to it. So we're going
The
to
Dragons are going to make it there
yeah.
easily.
So what we're going to do is we're going to speculate and see what are the chances of all of the teams that we're going to be talking about here, and their chances into making that third place into the stage playoffs, and we're going to start with the Boston Uprising. Now,
Ooh.
Oh boy.
I know. The Boston Uprising, I think, are the hottest team in Overwatch League right now.
Oh, yeah.
They crushed the Valiant today. They crushed Shanghai, I think is what it was that they played.
Everyone crushes Shanghai.
Yeah, no, everybody crushed Shanghai.
Mayhem didn't.
They crushed Gladiators.
They crushed Gladiator, excuse me. That's the play they hit. And they beat London last week. So, guys,
Mhm.
tell me, does Boston have a chance in week 5 in making the third place spot in the Overwatch League? Will it happen? I want to start with Tactical Buffalo.
All right, I'm gonna be honest. I think it's too little, too late in terms of their record and map differential. I really don't think they will be able to recover with their record coming into this final week, as they're playing Philly Fusion and Houston Outlaws, both very strong teams. However, actually, those matches are more evenly matched than we've seen other Boston Uprising matches. However, I still think that, like I said, it's too little, too late. And in the standings, they're 5th right now. And so unless they can pull out these 2 wins against Fusion and Outlaws, I really don't see it happening for them.
How about you, Blue? What do you think?
I'm gonna use a couple terms that I used to hear a lot in football when it came to playoff stuff, and that would be, it's not 100% in their control anymore. They need help. The way this would work is typically we'd all say, "Hey, they get enough wins, they get in. That's it. That's end of story." In this case, though, they need not only the Outlaws to lose to them. They also need the London Spitfire to continue winning. They would need the Spitfire to actually beat NYXL. They need the Dynasty to lose. I believe both games, and I don't think that's very likely, considering how... No, they don't have to lose both games. They only have to lose one game, and Boston has to win both of their games. And then Outlaws have to outright lose all of their games as well, and then they guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs. Like I said, that's going to need some help. We're going to need some help from the Valiant to be the Korean killers that they kept on saying that they were in week 2. Or we're going to need some amazing play from the Shock, which... I don't know if you guys know the Shock, but I'm pretty sure they're in the bottom 5, not the top 5.
Yeah, they are. How about you, Artemis? What are you thinking of Boston's chances here?
I hope they can do it. I want to see it. I want to see this upset from upset week come up and win it all. But I don't want them to beat my Philly boys. But if that's what it takes, then
Self-sacrifice there, huh?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, I've been sort of hyping them up. I'm not a Boston fan in any way, but I saw them play this week, and they're just good. And they're really good in the sense that, you can tell that there is a general progression of how much better they've gotten. And I appreciate teams that start bad but end really good. And Boston, to me, is that. And yeah, they need help. They need help specifically from the Valiant, because their matches up against Houston and Philadelphia put their own destiny in their own hands, which the thing about it is going to be really interesting if that match actually comes up. So I give Boston probably the an outside chance with regards to doing it. But if you want to talk about outside chances, let's talk about the Houston Outlaws here for a sec, because they're the next team up in my outside chances in qualifying for third. Houston has the London Spitfire and Boston with regards to matches in week 5. And this is a team that I have knocked as a team that can't beat big teams. So, Blue, tell me that Houston can beat London and Houston can beat Boston. Is that a possibility?
No.
Okay.
What do you want?
Okay.
Let me explain. Okay, so Houston, they struggled so much against a team that the Spitfire outright wiped off the face of the earth. That is one thing. Second thing, after that team, before that team wiped the team they lost to off the face of the earth, there was another team that beat them, whom the Houston Outlaws are also playing against. I don't think Houston has a real chance. I don't think Boston is going to make it. They have too much going on for them, but I don't think Houston's going to make it due to the sheer fact that they're going to get outplayed, and it's kind of sad to think about.
Yeah,
They have been doing really, really well, but I think this is where their streak ends. Boston has been so hot right now, and they're going to kind of walk all over the place, and they're going to flaunt their stuff, and then they're going to be disappointed and come back stage 2 and just rip everybody's faces off.
Archibus, do you think Houston even just gets past London? Is what I'm thinking. It's like, because they need to win both matches, and they need help. But one of their matches is against the London Spitfire. So, like, do they have a shot in this match, or is Prophet just going to kill Jake and his Junkrat over and over and over again?
Joke rat.
if Jake can carry it, then they might be able to do it, but it's just not looking very likely. Spitfire has just been dominating all the teams they played. Seoul, for instance, didn't even stand a chance against them. And I don't think they can do it.
How
I
about
don't
you?
think they can win neither game.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have a hard time with both games too. Tack, what do you think? What are your
I
chances
think
on the
they-
Houston Outlaws?
I think their only legitimate chance is against Uprising. Otherwise, I think Spitfire is just going to wipe the floor with them.
Yeah, that match happens on match day 2. So, like, the thing about it is Houston could literally be eliminated, like, the early on in the week if they lose to London, because then they play the role of spoiler, which would be completely awful. But they could ruin it for people at the end because they don't play Boston until match day 4, which means that, like, Houston, if they lose to London, then they just ruin Boston's chances and then put Seoul into the third round match, which would be crazy if you really think about it. So, outside chances for both teams with regards to both Houston and Boston are all dependent on our next team. And our next team is the Los Angeles Valiant. Now, the Los Angeles Valiant is a team that is not short on confidence, but they might be short on players because 2 of their players, Unko, who is listed with an upper body injury. I don't know when Overwatch League became a hockey league, because that is the most strangest. They have an injury report. It is absolutely amazing. So
He's on injured reserve.
he's on injured reserve. Go figure. And then they lost Silk Thread because he has the flu. Now, okay.
Feels bad.
It feels really bad. So, Archibus, Valiant play Seoul on match day 1, which is what gives us all of these possibilities of teams being able to sort of sneak in to third place in the third place playoff. Does Valiant need both Silk Thread and Unko to even have a chance in this match? Or with Seoul looking as bad as they are going into some of these matches, can they win this straight up without them?
I think that there's a possibility they can do it. I mean, Seoul has looked really weak, but that was because they weren't using some of their players in that match against Spitfire, and that may have been a calculated game to give Valiant a little more hope, or give other teams a little more hope, make them look weak, and then they come back and stomp. But if Valiant wins against Seoul and the Shanghai, I think they'll have a tie record if Boston also wins their games, and then that would come down to a differential to see who would go into third place.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the differential the way it is, like, you're looking at them needing to sort of beat teams like 4-0 going forward. I think it makes it makes the league hell of a more interesting going forward if Valiant can win. Pack, what are you giving Valiant's chances against the Seoul Dynasty on match day 1? Because they need to win this match, because their second match is against the Shanghai Dragons, which I know for a fact they're going to win. So it's all on the line here for the Valiant. So
yeah, about that. I really don't think they have much of a shot against Seoul, as Valiant has kind of come up short. A, they don't have the players that they need, and B, they have come up short when they have on being the quote-unquote Korean killers that they wanted to be. And so I think they're just going to get mopped by Seoul on day one.
How about you, Blue? Statistically, what are you looking at? What does your stats say that Valiant has a chance?
I'm gonna go back and talk about what you and Ark spoke about. The fact that if the Valiant win, then Boston actually has a bigger advantage, or they have more of an advantage because Boston needs the Dynasty to lose either against the Valiant or the Shock.
Mm.
If Seoul loses to the Valiant, then Boston actually takes place if Boston wins the matches against Houston. Um, if that's the case, that means that Boston needs to lose their game against the Fusion for the Valiant to even have a chance. And that is a lot to hope for. The chances are really slim for that happening. So at this point, Valiant are really playing more upset role than they are being playoff hopefuls for this. And that's kind of sad to say. Nonetheless, I don't think the Valiant have it in them, and it's going to be the 3 Korean teams in the first stage playoffs. But if for some reason the Valiant pull this off, I will give Valiant all of the props of being the Korean killers and making it a non-all Korean playoff round.
Yeah, you know what? I am hoping to God that the Valiant win this match just because I love chaos. And I love what people are going to talk about after that game because then all the mathematical possibilities start breaking out. Like Boston starts thinking how much they have to win against Philadelphia and against Houston. Houston gets this ray of hope on Thursday because if the Valiant win, and Seoul goes down, Houston still has a legitimate shot by beating both London and Boston, which is a tough task for
Yeah.
Houston. But all of a sudden, they start thinking, "Oh, we have a shot," especially if, let's say, Boston get upset by Philadelphia early on that day, and then God knows, let's say Seoul ends up beating the Valiant. Let's say Seoul then goes into San Francisco playing their B team, and then all hell breaks loose, and San Francisco decides, "Hey, we're going to have the match of our lives," and beat Seoul that day.
As unlikely as that sounds, I would
As
love to
unlikely as that sounds, it would be insane and would throw the whole league into chaos because then match day 4 would be amazing to watch with both New York and London going at it and then Boston and Houston going for the final spot. So a lot of crazy stuff happening here, but I want to now want to bring up the fact that there are 2 locks pretty much for the top 2 spots unless something insane happens. And let's start with the New York Excelsior. So Excelsior go into the final week pretty much locked into to one of the top 2 spots, but there is a matter of finishing top. And the Excelsior have to play the Florida Mayhem on match day 2, which I
Easy.
think which is a granted. But match day 4 is the Excelsior versus the London Spitfire, and I think going into that match, it's going to be the battle of who wants the 1 seed. And I'm going to start with Tack here. Who wins the Saturday matchup between New York and London?
Oh boy.
All right. Between New York and London, it's going to be close. I think that if Excelsior continues with their plan of putting in Pine every single game, it's going to be a lot closer. I think if they stick to keeping him on Koth maps and putting back in Sabiolbi as their general support complement with Libero, I think we'll have a much better chance. However, and more beneficial for us, the map selections, Ilios is our Koth map, which New York has always been very strong on, and as well as Anubis. So I think there will be maybe a tie in there, but as I said, I think if New York does win, is just going to be by the skin of their teeth.
Hmm.
Archibus, what do you think? What do you think with that analysis? Are you agreeing?
I think this match is way too close to call. These 2 teams are the 2 best teams right now in the league. And especially since Dynasty has shown how weak they are and how Excelsior and London have beat almost every team. I don't know. I don't know which team is going to win.
How about you, Blue? What are you thinking?
I've been saying since week 2, the Spitfire are the strongest team, in my eyes, easily. They have the absolute best diving tanks in the league right now. They have the best team synergy when it comes to diving. Honestly, with the way that Excel plays, Excel is known for obviously Sabiobi shutting down other DPS and making sure that everybody that he targets is going to be a DPS. He'd make sure that they don't have an existence. That's good. That's fantastic. Pine. Pine is known for his ability to shut down rampant tracers, his ability to shut down flankers and such like that. That's perfect. But you want to know what I've seen Excel be weak to? Is dive. And that is what's going to be the X factor in my eyes for London winning. If Excel plays the way that they have been, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, the way that they play has worked against everybody else. If they play the way that they have been, London easily takes this game. If you put in Pine during King of the Hill, you put in Pine for the last map. I believe it was, if I'm not
It's
mistaken,
Dorado in this last
Dorado.
map. Like,
Yeah, so they're going to play, if they play Pine there as well. Pine's best maps are Ilios and Dorado, but that's predictable. London knows this. Pine's McCree is scary, but London's dive is pretty much going to stomp McCree's face in. The next thing that they would stomp in, Pine's Widowmaker. It's not impossible to shut down Pine. You saw the Dallas Fuel do it, and they weren't even running dive. So, with that stated, I do think that the Spitfire actually have the edge here only because Excel has been they've been in such a rut in the way that they play, and Korean teams are known for outsmarting each other.
So, but granted to say, with your prediction of the Spitfire, we're 1-1 and undecided. So, I think this is probably going to be the match of the. I think this is just going to be a preview of
It's
the.
a playoff preview, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a preview of the final because whatever team makes it into third place, be it Seoul, be it Houston, Boston, the Valiant, I think you're looking at the top two teams of the league in stage one. I think, I think it's a bit of a mental game because I think either team can defeat whatever third place team that they can play, and I think they'll be playing for more of a sort of mental superiority. They want to win this match so that they can go into the final when they have to play again. So saying, "Hey, I beat you before, I'm going to beat you again." So that's how I'm looking at it. So, but that's going to be it for our preview with regards to week 5 because honestly, the rest of the matches in week 5 don't really seem to basically matter much because we're playing into this sort of special playoff, and $100,000 is a lot of money, and it'll be at the end of the stage, and that's what we're sort of looking at. So let's just flash to the current standings real quick. If you in case you just missed, you're just joining us and you missed the original. It's the London Spitfire and the New York Excelsior at number 1 and 2, with only a slight differential separating the two teams. Seoul Dynasty is in third, and then you have this log jam of, I think it's 4 teams: Houston, Boston, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, just sort of vying for this third spot, which makes the final week of stage 1 a very, very interesting matchup. So, final thoughts from you guys. I'm going to start with you, Archimus. Like, final thoughts on week 5 and what you want to happen in this final week of the Overwatch stage 1.
I want to see Boston win it all. That's what I want to see. It might be close to impossible, but they got it. I'm going to give them my energy.
How about you, Blue? What do you want to see in stage in like week 5 of stage 1?
Dallas to beat the Gladiators and the Dragons. That's just my personal thing. I want them to go 3-7, not 1-9. But I mean 2-9 because it's the Dragons. But I mean I'm gonna give the Dragons my energy. I want to see some good matches. I can't wait to see the London Houston match, only due to only due to the fact that it's going to have such huge effect on the day 4 matches. If Dynasty somehow finds a way to lose. And this entire week, there's games that you'd want to watch depending on outcome, and then the playoff preview on Saturday, obviously between Excel and London. This entire week is going to be insane to watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the great. I think it's going to be one of the great weeks of the Overwatch League. How about you, Tack? What do you want to see in Week 5?
I would like to see Papa Pine $100,000 richer. That's what I want to see.
Just because you won't see it, it doesn't mean you have to complain about it.
Well, that's going to be one of those things in which you know what they need to do is they need to like rain money on the stage, be it dollar bills or whatever.
Yes.
Whoever wins
Yes.
Oh yeah.
that little mini tournament, I just want to see cash coming down and raining on them, sort of like a stripper in Vegas, just getting rained on with all this money sort of coming down.
They just give stacks to the audience. They just have to start throwing money on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like, you know, you've got little kids coming out of the stage, grabbing dollar bills, you know, Pine throwing money into Prophet's face, going, you know, have some of this. That's what I want to see.
As unfortunate as it is, I would love to see that. That'd be fantastic.
That would be hilarious. I mean,
I would pay good money to see that.
That would be hilarious. I mean, like, the thing about it is like the Koreans love to trash talk each other, but they're somewhat respectable. How about just put them in a situation where, you know, you can just be rude as fuck and just be like, this is mine. Like, you wanted this? No, sir. This is my cash. Or like, you know how in the World Poker Championships, like, they bring out the tray of $1 million like in front of both teams?
Yes.
They need to do that in this final.
Yes.
They need to put all $100,000 cash, put it in the middle of the stage, and then have them play for it. That would be amazing.
They better.
Gotta make them smell it first. It's wafted in front of their face. This is what you guys are playing for.
Yeah, just put Zoe out there in her Tracer outfit, wheeling out $100,000 in cash.
Don't do that to me. My heart can take that. Cannot take that.
But have her wheel out the $100,000 in cash, put it in a clear safe, so that if somebody from the stage tries to make a run at the money, that they're not going to get anywhere. But like, just put it out there and put it in between both teams, because I think it just would add an extra dynamic of nervousness if you were to see that amount of cash on the stage. That would be just phenomenal. And I think we need to make this happen.
That also means that Blizzard has to get $100,000 in small bills, and I don't think they won't do that.
They can. Yeah, you know
they can.
They can.
You know
really?
they're big.
Yeah, but they won't.
Big tech people.
Well, then make it $100,000 in Bitcoin and put it out there. Who knows? Put something, put something out there so that it makes them a little nervous.
I was about to say, I don't think they would mind putting the check on stage, the actual giant check just sitting there on stage.
Ooh, yeah, that would be good.
That would be pretty
like
decent.
An easel.
It needs to. There needs to be something there, because you need to basically entice both teams to get nervous, and I think that's what makes really good Overwatch play, because all of a sudden, Pine is looking over to the left. He sees that giant check for $100,000. Might miss a headshot here and there. Prophet looking over to the right, sees that giant wad of cash or that giant check. Doesn't finish off a Mercy, who then gets a Valkoff and reses 2 people. I
can't wait till stage 2.
Yeah, that's going to be what you want to see. But you know, all of this is all speculation. But that's where we sort of want to go. But
I'd say, Blizzard, if we're watching, we're giving you fantastic ideas here. All right,
just put the markers on their desk too, so that they know that they sign it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's evil. You just look at your marker right next to your mouse. And you just
it's like everybody has to sign the check right after they win it or something like that. Just a constant reminder on the desk. You know that just So this, I think, needs to be done. But before any of all of this happens, tomorrow is a special day. It is Super Bowl Sunday. The reason that we're recording this really, really late on Saturday night is because everybody and their mother in the United States, at least, will be going to either a Super Bowl party or watching the Super Bowl between hours of 6 and 11. So, with our cast of characters here, I want to know, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl and why? Tactical Buffalo, you're the actual resident NFL fan from the South. Who's going to win? Is it going to be the Philadelphia Eagles or will it be the New England Patriots again?
No, it's gonna be the fucking Patriots. God fucking damn it. I hate the Patriots so goddamn much, but they're gonna win again.
You know,
Tom Brady already has one full hand of rings. He doesn't need to start the other hand. God damn it.
He needs 10.
well, the Jordan is five fingers and a thumb. So like anytime Michael Jordan like shows off his rings, he has to use both hands. So you're saying to me that Tom Brady is going
Is
to
not
have
a
a
Michael Jordan.
thumb and 5
Oh, yeah.
fingers of rings.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah.
I don't think the Eagles are gonna be able to pull it out.
Blue, you're our resident in-house Las Vegas person. Who do you
I'm a
think?
Chargers fan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I've rooted for the San Diego Chargers, not the Los Angeles Chargers. I didn't really necessarily root for them. I hoped for the best, but I knew that they were going to disappoint everyone again. So, with that stated, I think that the Dallas Fuel are going to win the Super Bowl. No.
Again?
The thing is, if Carson Wentz was on the team again, I would definitely go for Carson Wentz. I know Nick Foles has some playoff experience with the Eagles, and he actually knows the team extremely well. He's not a bad quarterback. I don't think he's Super Bowl potential quarterback. I think Carson Wentz would have just came out of nowhere, and he would have dominated, and then it would have been an actual shootout that I would have wanted to watch. Unfortunately for Nick Foles, he's just got an extreme bomb of an arm, but that's probably going to cost him in the long run. I say come the third quarter, we'll know who the winner is by the end, and it's going to be the Tennessee Titans. I refuse to say the Patriots.
So that's 2 for the Patriots. How about you, Artemis?
I really want to see the Eagles win. My Philly boys coming back again.
But
Not a fan of Philadelphia, but we all know the
We all-
Patriots are going to win.
yeah, I think that makes us 4 for 4. I'm
going to be rooting for the Eagles, though. I don't care.
I was gonna say we'll
the
all be
problem
rooting
is-
for the Eagles,
The
but
problem is I can't root for the Philadelphia Eagles. I am based in a city where Philadelphia can suck it. So like Philadelphia fans are notoriously the worst human beings on this planet. I will quote that right now. Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
So, like
they're
one of
awful.
my
They're the
best
worst.
one of my best friends is a Philadelphia Eagles fan. She is a diehard fan, and I can't bring it to myself to have the Philadelphia Eagles win for her, much less root for them ever. So, unfortunately, I also say it'll be 6 for Tom Brady. Him and his supermodel wife and their perfect children can ride off into the sunset and win another Super Bowl next year because, that shit will happen again. So,
Of course.
Because screw the Patriots.
Because screw
They're
the
becoming
Patriots.
the Yankees of the NFL.
Yeah, and the thing about it is you're looking at a league that has a salary cap that doesn't allow freedom of movement really well, yet they keep fucking winning, and it's annoying. It is annoying as hell, and it is just, ugh. Oh well. That's why I would prefer to watch Overwatch than the NFL sometimes, because at least Overwatch is less predictable. At least a little
I
bit.
mean,
Unless you're
we
Korean.
see 3 Korean teams going into a playoff if Valiant can't do anything.
Hey,
on the
the
first
other
day.
teams are getting better. They're getting better. Maybe not in this
Stage 2, here we go.
Stage
With
2,
less
that's where I
mercy,
want to see
less
it. That's
mercy.
right. So, check in Twitch here. No questions from Twitch. Shadow loving the chart. Shout out to Shadow Dragon who's been watching. Shadow Cat, excuse me.
Shadow Dragon. Oh, that hurts. Call her a dragon. That's
No,
an insult where I come
So
from.
my friend Shadow Dragon was a person I played WoW with 10 years ago, who is so if he's ever watching the channel, say hi. But he was one of the sort of special people, and let's just leave it at that.
Oh,
But
my best friend was too. He was like a top tier warlock player in World of Warcraft.
he was also a warlock player. I think there was
Of
just
course.
something about warlock players and them being very, very out there. But we're gonna end the vodcast right there. I think we're getting way off track at this point. So for Blue, for Tactical Buffalo, and for Artemis, I am your caster Hotohori. Thank you so much for joining us for this special Week 5 midnight preview of the Overwatch League. And please stay tuned to this channel. We will be replaying this vodcast again tomorrow afternoon, along with my power rankings list, where you will see I rank all teams 1 through 12 in the Overwatch League based on what I've seen. But if you're interested in even more content, please visit our Twitch streams. We all have a Twitch stream here: Artemis, the Big Blue, Tactical Buffalo. Visit my YouTube channel where you can see a cached video of this podcast as well as other content. And if you want an audio version of this podcast, go to my Podbean site, hotohori.podbean.com. Listen to it in your car on your commute Monday morning. If you can't feel like you can stand watching us on screen, and then you can yell at us through the radio and make it feel like we're radio commentators. So for all the guys, I am your Castro Hotohori. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we see you next time.